Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and what the hell do we care now? We've went to their place, we've beat the baddies, we've got 3 points, and now it's the international break, and we can sit and reflect on, the first chapter of the season that we've had before we prepare for an exciting Champions League campaign. In the video today, we're going to be breaking down exactly where the game was won, who rose to the occasion, who really made the difference on the day, and what have we learned about the team and about the standing of the whole squad after this game as we lock into this big important part of the season up ahead. At any point in the video, if you laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel. We are pushing for 10,000 subscribers and we cannot do that without your support. So boys and girls around the world, if you are enjoying the content, please do hit the like button, hit subscribe for more stuff like this, and jump into the comment section and let me know what you thought about the derby match. Was it as tight as 1-0 made it seem? What do you think about the decisions that were made with VAR and all that good stuff? And yeah, let's just get stuck into it. Now, first and foremost, for me, Joe Hart won us this game. We've been calling it on this channel quite a lot for some sort of forward plan, some sort of exciting transfer strategy around a new goalkeeper for whenever Joe Hart is no longer serving at the club anymore. And, we felt this has been something that's been urgently needed because Joe Hart's not really showed up and gave us a real Joe Hart game, a guy that's won the Premier League, got all these caps for England, Champions League experience, etc. But really, this game, he won it for us. It was a real makeshift backline, and his cool, calm composure, his elite presence at the back line really did keep the ship steady when Rangers did dominate the play and make their opportunities in the match like they were always going to. But not just that, he cleaned up for so many mistakes and swept up so many balls that were coming from them diagonally long. Great performance for him, and this is a win for Joe Hart. Now, when the team first came out, there was definitely a lot of surprise that, number one, Palma wasn't starting. I don't know why people thought this guy was going to start. Yang played the last game, he did okay, but that was because Abada wasn't seen in training, maybe had a little bit of a knock or a niggle or something. And up until the recent kind of stutter, Dyson, Kyogo and Abada have looked electric under Rodgers. But also in defence, no Nat Phillips. Apparently he's arrived injured as well and should be fine for after the international break, which meant that Scales started with medium-sized Gus. Now, a lot of people were worried about Scales coming into this game, but between the two, I was not worried about Scales at all. Scales has played Rangers, Scales has played at Ibrox, and really, probably the next closest game to a derby, Aberdeen versus Rangers, and Scales has done pretty well against Rangers in the past, so I wasn't really worried about the occasion, the stadium, the match for him. It's just more the standard and the quality and how good Rangers might have been is I think maybe what we were mostly worried about. But Liam Scales in left centre-back all the way throughout the game, and particularly in the first half when Rangers thought he might have been a weak point, he absolutely dominated this side of the pitch. Even when Rangers were going on and trying and pressing, 50-50s, he didn't mind giving a throw-in away, even though he gave away a few fouls. He only got booked very late in the match, the 77th minute, so he was never really caught out of possession. He was never really caught, dwelling on the ball. He always made a quick decision. He always made a good decision. He was very slick and very calm on the ball. Defensively across the game, he made 10 effective clearances. He won himself 1 tackle and he made a block. But winning possession 8 times, winning 7 duels across this match, and then going on to complete that level of pass count, he was a dominant centre-back in this position in the real kind of mould of normally what we would expect to see from Cameron Carter-Vickers. Now, medium-sized Gus, for me, overall, had an okay match. Obviously, had 2 massive blunders that could have led to something pretty terrible, and thankfully, that wasn't the case. But overall, I thought, he fitted into the shape well. He didn't let his mistakes really hold him back. He kept going through the match. Maybe didn't learn from the first one as quickly as we would have liked. But overall, definitely a good learning experience for him in terms of the match, the occasion. And it's definitely a huge step up from Swedish football coming in to play this. But looking at the statistics for this match for medium-sized Gus, this is where you really see the difference between the eye test and statistics. So statistics will always tell you lots about players in terms of what they're good at and their potential, but because of the way the refereeing decisions went for this, he is leaving this game with basically no errors actually accredited to him in this performance. And as fans, when you're signing players that no one's ever heard of and doesn't really have the ability to give an eye test against, that's the kind of thing you're always worried about, that maybe still the stats look okay for them, but if you watch the game, he did not look comfortable. I think given defensively, his statistics are not too different to Liam Scales on this metric. And he's only been here a couple of weeks, and playing in a much more settled team once he's been here longer, you can only expect the guy is going to improve. So as much as he'll definitely have, he'll be giving some Celtic fans some nightmares for a while, potentially in terms of memories of this match, I think there's definitely more promise there from Gus than anything else. What I thought was clear to see as well under Brendan Rodgers is we got a little bit of a, for me anyway, a little bit of a glimpse behind the curtain for what he's thinking about the current status of the fullbacks and the way he wants to go on and use them. Alistair Johnson just put in an all-round elite performance, just being a top-end performer at right back, dealing with his man, winning his duels 50-50. He carried the ball up the pitch so often as well, and he played some amazing balls into the attacking area to keep the transition going with us. But unfortunately, he couldn't complete the match, and he got subbed off, kind of injured. It was clear to see for me when Ralston came on, he really tucked in a bit deeper and just stayed much more as part of a flat back four. Taylor seemed to get a bit of a kick and a niggle, if you remember. He went down, got back to his feet, went back down again. I do think he did get a bit of a knock in the match, but I do think Rodgers was ready in Alexandro Bernabei anyway, because if you let the back four get tight in at that point of the game, we'd also made other subs, but I've not spoke about the rest of the pitch yet, so forgive me for being all over the place on the defence part here. But you're just going to invite Rangers into more and more space. And as we've seen in the second half, when Bernabei came on, he was one of our outlets, along with Dyson Maeda on this left-hand side, that we were going to try and get any last-minute opportunities out from as they were throwing the kitchen sink at it, letting Tavernier or Tav, whatever, go further forward. It just meant we had more space to maybe then go in and attack in and beyond. And we did have some opportunities late in the match, thanks to the pace and the energy of Bernabei and Dyson all the way out here in the 97th minute or whatever it was, all the way to the end on that left-hand side. So I did think when I seen Ralston come on and him becoming much more conservative as a right back compared to what we've seen with Alistair Johnson, the very quick turnaround to see Bernabei come on the pitch didn't surprise me, and I think that tells us that the manager probably wants one very energetic fullback and one that's going to be a bit more conservative in their approach. So I found that interesting. Now, Rangers midfield were pretty busy in this match, and most of their good moves that they made came from Cantwell, falling into little pockets of space, getting on the ball and turning the ball over quickly to try and cause a little bit of chaos with, whoever it was they had on the pitch. To be honest with you, all their guys were pretty rubbish. In the fantasy football game I play, I told everyone that would listen, Lammers and Dessers are pretty rubbish, and they'll probably do well against the general SPFL or whatever, but they're not players that I would be worried about necessarily. And I think that really showed in a game like this today. It's kind of like, you buy guys that have not got great track records of scoring goals, they don't score goals to our benefit, which was great. But we cannot operate at, because playing them in the derby is the closest thing we're going to get at this point in time to playing Champions League. We cannot play the top of our game, let's call it, without a midfield presence like this. I know McGregor was amazing, I know O'Reilly was amazing, but it did really feel like the midfield area was vacant. We were only going to get into attack from getting into a wide space, from playing into a channel for Kyogo, or down the line for Abada, or something similar again for Dyson. Dyson was quite often involved in quite complicated little 1-2 give and go kind of sequences with different players that didn't really materialise as much, and that's something to maybe watch out for. But it didn't feel like we had the ability to get our key playmakers, guys like Turnbull, O'Reilly and McGregor, really into these kind of zones here, this kind of central channel. Once you're over the halfway line, before you get into the attacking third, we want these guys in here, interlocking passes with one another, moving the ball from left to right really quickly, and looking for our danger men and all the kind of runs and all the moves that they're going to be trying to make to penetrate the box and actually create the chances that we did create. We created a bunch of them, but I don't feel any of them ever really came from a lot of the midfield. It felt like everything was coming out from the wide areas. And against much better teams, if you give up midfield a little bit in the way that we did, we're going to be punished a little bit more for it, I feel. So I do feel in terms of midfield, we had amazing performances from O'Reilly and from McGregor. O'Reilly in particular won 4 tackles, which is incredible for a midfielder. He won 8 duels, made 2 interceptions, and then an amazing set of passing statistics, particularly accurate final third passing. And then he's created a chance as well and got us an assist. 95 out of 100, really impressive score from Matt O'Reilly. And McGregor's actions probably don't do him as much justice as what we've seen from him on the game. It was real, he really fired across the ground when he was pressing people and recovering back into defensive areas. And, it was really a man possessed in a good way. He was a fantastic captain on the day, and I don't think that score really reflects him, but it does feel like these two guys really did carry a lot of the weight in midfield, the weight of 3 men, really. And like I've mentioned already, we created a bunch of chances for the likes of Abada, Kyogo and Dyson Maeda on counter-attacks, on breaks, 3-on-2 situations, lots of opportunities to be playing each other in for tap-ins and all this kind of stuff that just never materialised. And I just felt like the guys thought that we were already winning 3-0, and it actually made me quite annoyed because every one of them, like Kyogo didn't pass twice, right? And I then think between Dyson and Abada, they've both been done dirty by Kyogo. So surely when they're getting through with each other, they're not going to do each other dirty and they'll make sure that we get the bloody goal. But no, a real individual mentality it felt like from the forwards, which did annoy me. And I really hope they've got that out of their system and they reflect on this match and they don't do that again for this season, because the amount of opportunities we created, we should have been tapping those goals home, and we should have really scored 3 or 4 in that match. I do think Kyogo had a great performance, and it was a vintage Kyogo performance, and I think he has very much cemented himself now in Celtic folklore as a bona fide scalper. No two ways about it. You know, the goal itself was fantastic, but the chances he didn't take, you know, the little flick at the front post, the Larson move, you know, Sutton reckons he maybe got himself a little bit ahead of the ball. I would just like to see him get, just finish that, man. Just put that away. But a great performance from him, and, you know, he'll only grow in stature after this game. I think we're going to see a huge performance from Kyogo and the likes of Daizen Maeda and Abada once we get into the Champions League. And you hope when it is at that level, it is at that stage, that between the 3 of them, that we do just make sure that the ball goes into the net, because we're creating chances for fun. And against teams that are going to defend in spells like Lazio, like Atletico Madrid, we need to be able to, you know, take what little chances actually come. So maybe a good lesson for us to learn at this point before we go into the international break. I'd probably just finalise by saying I thought Odenholm did pretty good when he came in as well. I think his long shot was a bit weak, but hey, it opened up for him and why not take the shot, I suppose. But I thought it was a good game for him to come in and get blooded into the occasion as well, as it were. And he didn't not look the part, you know, he didn't look not of the level, so pretty decent from him. And when you look at the kind of level, I don't even know if level's the word, but if you look at Lager, BLK, Scales, Ralston, Bernabe, O'Reilly, McGregor, cool, first 11 guys, home, fine, whatever. Dyson, first 11 guy, and then O and Yang, the way we finished the match, like, it gives me a lot of confidence going into this next chapter of the season under Brendan Rodgers, that once we get all the key players back, and that's not to besmirch any of the guys that played in this game, because once you put Hatate back into this team, and then you get, so I've been really impressed with Naropche, to be honest with you. Maybe it's him, maybe it's Scales, maybe it's Lager, BLK, maybe it's Phillips, but you put anyone when they're all fit, you pick the best one we've got, you put them next to Carter Vickers, and I think this team looks a whole lot different in terms of how fluid it can be, the amount and the type of opportunities it can create, and, you know, could be very good. Now, on the fullback note that I mentioned earlier, by the way, one thing I would note is if we, you know, transfer window's closed, if he does like to keep this, one is attacking and one is a bit more conservative. Scales did play in a back 3 at Aberdeen as a left footer, can play in that left fullback, left sided centre back kind of job. So, you know, maybe something just to watch out for. But overall, I personally feel a lot better after that match. I was so nervous going into it. Normally, I'm very optimistic and thinking we're going to go and smash them 8-0 or something. But yeah, I feel relieved, and I feel like an extra little bit of confidence around the squad where it's at. And yeah, I'm just really excited to hopefully see the players come through the international window unscathed. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and retweet, and all that good stuff, guys. On screen and now some other stuff that we've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Stay out of trouble, and we'll catch you on the next one. Hail, hail.